I still remember my low air alarm going off. My heart dropped into my stomach. I froze, that cold kind of fear that sets in, that panic when you know that you messed up. See, the problem wasn't that my low air alarm was going off, it was that we were 2 or 3 minutes into a drill and it was going off. Everyone involved, the officers, the senior firefighters, stopped and stared at me. Sure, you can imagine what happened next as I was marched down the training tower, pulled out into the parking lot, stripped down, and just chewed to pieces. And I deserved every second of it. Right? You see, earlier that day, we had been doing another drill. And for some context, I was in a position being new at a very busy fire department with no prior experience. So I was doing two-a-days, pulling hose, multiple levels, just crushing work. And what had happened earlier that day, we had been through a separate drill. And what did I do? Except forgetting to fill up my air bottle in between trainings. And not for, a couple minutes, but hours. Having that frontline pack with only 30-40% air on it. I'm sure you can imagine. But this led to a different problem. You see, the problem became, how could I have been a person who came into the fire service with what I considered a lot of fitness experience, with certifications, with knowledge in nutrition, with being really in shape, doing martial arts for almost 20 years? And how could I be put in a position where I was just getting absolutely destroyed by these drills? And it made me realize in the course of this experience when I first started that the fitness that I thought I had accumulated and the traditional fitness path that I had been following, well, it didn't amount to much. Not in the fire service, not with what we had to do here. So the question then became, how do I increase my bottle time? And that's what we're going to talk about on this episode. So welcome back to another episode of Reclaim the Fire Service. I am your host, Robbie Nebergall, and we're going to talk about the 3 ways that you can increase your bottle time. Before I get into that, I kind of want to get more into the personal story, which is at the end of my probation now, fast forward a couple of months, not a couple of months, almost an entire year after that, I ended my probation, but not in the state that I thought I would. Not with all that experience. You see, this problem, it continued. And I remember very, very specifically getting to the end of that point and everyone telling me, man, what an amazing achievement this is. Man, you should be so proud of yourself. My family, my friends, all of them were like, this is amazing. And I remember at the same time being so confused. Why? Because I didn't understand what I had to be proud of. Yes, I made it through probation. I did something hard. In hindsight, yes, it was something to celebrate. But when I looked in the mirror, I was not happy with what I saw. I was not happy with my performance. Because when I put it down on paper, here was the reality. I had gained 20 pounds. I was burned out. I had bad self-esteem, poor self-esteem. And it felt like all of the relationships that I was trying to maintain outside of the firehouse were deteriorating because of my physical and mental state. And so I had to have a hard conversation. I kept trying to burn the candle at both ends. Just burnout, just trying the traditional fitness rhetoric that has you going all gas, no brakes with a lifestyle like firefighting, and it wasn't matching up. It was like banging my head against the wall. So why? I had to have a conversation with myself, which was, does fitness just not work for firefighters, or is the way that I'm approaching it wrong? And so that's what it became. I chose the latter. Like, hey, maybe I'm approaching it wrong. Maybe it doesn't work for this lifestyle. Maybe these things and these rules that we hear about in the fitness industry, in the fitness space, They don't apply to all sorts of situations. Maybe it's a little bit more nuanced than that. So the mission became like, how do I improve it then? How can I come up with a system that's going to work for these things? That is actually going to be representative of the lifestyle and the things that make it difficult about being a firefighter. So the question became, as one of these things, hey, how can I increase my bottle time? How can I take it from 20 to 40 minutes on a 45-minute bottle? And how can I do it quickly? How can I do it in the next 2-3 months? What do I have to do that doesn't involve burning out? And here's the thing. Usually I'm going to name the 3 things in no particular order. They are composition, frequency, and the most overlooked and undervalued is range of motion. Now, if you are a firefighter with any kind of experience, I've heard this enough times to know and to call it out that, oh, you got to work, just knowing what to do and having experience and, breath control. Admittedly, very important, drastically important. But what if you don't have those things? What if you don't have, experience is like you have it or you don't. And it's not necessarily under your control. So relying on that and saying, hey, you're missing that piece of the equation, I understand. But what's also a reality in today's fire service is that there are not as many incidents, at least on fire. There are more incidents, but they're more medical. And fire prevention in large areas of the country, at least in the United States, are doing a very good job, especially in suburban areas. I know our big city departments still burn with quite a lot of frequency. And listen, I live just north of Detroit, so I understand. Like, Detroit burns. They have a freaking documentary about it. I got it. But for a lot of departments, it is the reality that they're burning less. So what if you can't just rely on experience? What are the 3 things? Again, to rename them: composition, frequency, and the most overlooked, range of motion. So why don't we start with the first one, composition. What do we mean when we talk about composition? We're talking about body composition. We say, hey, oh yeah, all right, I get it. No, listen, we can make this stupid simple. When we talk body composition, let's talk about what your heart's job is. What is it? It is to pump blood, oxygenated blood, back to the rest of your tissues. And likewise to pump unoxygenated blood to your lungs so that it can become oxygenated and then push that blood out to the rest of your tissues to perfuse them. Now, here's the thing. When you're carrying around excess adipose tissue, consider it like having on a weighted vest. But the problem with this vest is that you can never take it off, at least not instantly. You have to walk around with it at all times, which is going to affect the stress on your joints and the stress on your heart, because even though the only purpose of excess adipose tissue is as an extra energy reserve in case you starve, it's for use later. And even though it's not serving a functional purpose right now when you might need it, down to a certain percentage, right? Reasonable percentage. In this moment, it's really just extra weight and extra tissue that your heart has to perfuse even at rest. Your heart has to work even harder to perfuse. So what do we say if we reverse engineer this? Well, if I can improve my body composition, that is the composition of my muscle mass to my body fat and to the other tissues in my body, then effectively I will be decreasing the resting heart rate, how hard my heart has to work even at rest, and that will translate. This translates to a lowering of the resting heart rate. Your heart having to work less hard to perfuse the tissues that you have. You can do this in a couple of ways. You can do endless amount of cardio and decrease the long distance runners and people like that. You can reduce your resting heart rate that way. You'll probably run into some muscle loss because we know that endurance running can lead to that if not combined with weight training. Okay. The point is, you want to maintain the muscle, the functional muscle, and I'm not talking about bodybuilder muscle. Okay. This is another counterpoint that people try to say. We've all seen the jacked and the ripped firefighter that is the first one to run out of air. If you solely train like a bodybuilder, you're going to have problems with air consumption because you're increasing muscle size without increasing the effectiveness and strength of that muscle. So yes, oxygen demand will go up and efficiency will go down. We're talking about training in the right way to improve your total body composition so that you have less adipose tissue that your heart has to perfuse, making it not have to work as hard on a regular basis, including when you're doing higher cardiac activity. What is the body composition and how can you improve it? You have to lose the fat, lose the extra fat. If you don't want to do more cardio, if you don't want to spend more time doing it. Because remember, the question was, how can I increase my bottle time without having to burn out and do a bunch of extra cardio? That's the question. Okay. And that kind of leads me into the second point, which is training frequency. More specifically, your cardio frequency. And the problem in the fitness industry, as somebody who had done it that way for a very long time, was that we're taught to just do it every day. More. Pour gasoline on the fire, all gas, no brakes. Just keep doing it. More volume is always better. But here's the thing that I think we get confused as, certainly as firefighters and absolutely as human beings. Being busy is not the same thing as being productive. And that's a really important piece because more is not better. Better is better. Your central nervous system has its own recovery curve. And on top of that, when you just crush yourself with cardio, that makes adhering to certain restrictions diet-wise that you're going to need to improve step number 1, which is your body composition. If you're doing cardio every day, it's going to make it feel next to impossible. Very, very difficult. Again, as somebody who's lived it, doing cardio every day, you're going to be starving. And on top of that, why would you burn the candle at both ends? 2 hours of sleep, 16 calls during a shift, 6 of them after midnight. And we want to go and do cardio every day. Like, let's just lay it out for a second on paper. Does that make sense? You might be tough, but let's not be unreasonable. Frequency matters, and the truth is that you can get most of the cardiovascular benefits that somebody would see in 5-6 days a week if you add in these 3 components together. Just training cardio 1 or 2 times per week. Yes, you're going to have some other weightlifting included in your routine. But do you have to tax your central nervous system to that extent, that frequently, to get the cardiovascular benefits? There are benefits in going zone 4, zone 5. Do you need to do it every single day? You do not need to, nor should you. Because there is something called the law of diminishing returns that we have to apply here, which simply states that after a certain amount of effort, your returns start to level out. And any effort past that point is just going to see diminishing returns or see the exact same amount of returns. So why would you continue putting in the effort if the result is really, really not going to be that much more monumental? Your training frequency, 1 to 2 times per week for intensive cardio. Shorter sessions too. 30 minutes, 40 tops, twice a week. Does that make it more reasonable? Then lastly, the most overlooked piece, the most undervalued piece, range of motion. Range of motion. Why don't people talk about this? Right? And for this, we have to consider something called the Firefighter Performance Pyramid. What the heck does that mean? Firefighter Performance Pyramid is something that I came up with that simply states what we have to put in the order of priority to improve ourselves as firefighters. It starts at the bottom with recovery. It's the most overlooked piece in the fire service. It's just like allow your body to recover. It already takes a hit because of the nature of your career. After that, then we have to focus on movement quality. And this is where I want to sit. And then after that, just so that you know, we have strength and then we have endurance up at the top. So when we talk range of motion, the most overlooked piece, you'll think like, how could being more flexible, having more freedom in the range of motion, the ability to move freely, how could that possibly improve my cardio? I want you to think of it like this. If you're moving ineffectively, well, then your body has to work harder to accomplish the same task. So instead, we will, similarly as the first two steps, we reverse engineer this. So think of it like this. If you are moving more naturally and more effectively, then you're moving more efficiently. And if you're moving more efficiently, then you are spending less energy per movement to accomplish the same task. It's not about being able to do a back bend and to touch your head to your knees, although that would be cool. That's a personal goal. It's more about like, hey, how can I optimize for the movements I'm already doing? So instead of adding more volume, why don't I just get more efficient at every movement that I'm doing? Why don't I make the machine run smoother in and of itself? Instead of doing more output, I'll just make better use of what I'm already doing, the energy I'm already expending, so that it can take me even further without adding more junk volume. You do that by improving your range of motion. You do that by fostering your mobility. And more than that, you want to talk about increasing your battle time. You make yourself more injury resistant, injury averse, moving in awkward positions, getting down on the ground, dragging a hose line, dragging a victim, dragging a fellow firefighter. Hard tasks, awkward positions. And while you can build massive strength with traditional weightlifting, with bench pressing and barbell squatting and deadlifting, the truth at the end of the day is that they aren't going to protect you when you get into these awkward, strange, unusual positions. So it's for so many reasons that we have to prioritize range of motion, because your job is chaotic. And what's going to keep you dynamic and ready for battle is going to be this last piece. So where do you stand with it? Do you want to live a lifestyle where you have to burn out all the time just to get better results? Or maybe is it the case that you are not training smarter before you're training harder? You see, I hate that expression. I hate train smarter, not harder, or work smarter, not harder. I don't believe that they're mutually exclusive. You see, at the end of the day, it's train smarter, then harder, in that order. And then keep redefining what training smarter looks like. That should now and forever, as your career in the fire service, should be the goal. And not just with your physical training, but like with your professional training. Forcing doors, cutting vents, like dragging patients, advancing hose, throwing a ladder. Like, where can this concept not apply? Like, work smarter, then harder, in that order, and continue to redefine what working smarter looks like. You see, these methods have gotten amazing results for a lot of the people in the program that I run already. If you need the examples, I'm going to highlight them here somewhere in the video. But first we have Angie, who joined the program almost a year ago at this point, and she's done amazing. She's dropped 20 to 25 pounds in that time. And one of the biggest things that she noticed right off the rip was during a week-long training that she had, I think it was a RIT training, 5 days straight, and noticeable difference in how she was able to keep up and how she was kind of running circles around some of the guys at the training. But the biggest thing she noted was, hey, my resting heart rate dropped by 15 to 20 beats per minute. Or maybe we could talk about Gail, who is a captain out in California. Just the evaporation of pain, the energy that he now has to lead from the front and to actually get involved in the trainings and show some of the new guys how it's done with confidence. Not like, oh my gosh, can I do this? Should I pass it off to one of my other officers? Should I give it to a senior firefighter? Like, no, he's leading the charge. Or maybe we should talk about Steve, who just got off probation, but he had it extended because of an injury. Came in very concerned. I need to get on top of my mobility and my range of motion, or maybe this injury will linger and follow me around for the rest of my life. Maybe it will stop me from being able to be a firefighter in the first place. You fast forward to now, as you'll see again in the video that I'm going to put up here, he's well past that. And he just got off probation with flying colors, even though it was extended due to injury, on to his next assignment, working at a big city department. All three of these people have something in common. They prioritize doing a program that was designed specifically for the fire service. Not some generic influencer plan, not something that David Goggins is going to have you doing that's going to burn you out into the ground. Not plans designed for people with perfect sleep schedules and 9 to 5 jobs or fake influencer lifestyles. No, the realities, the training, the hardship, the sleep deprivation, the things that make sense, the things that you have to deal with, the communal meals, all the things that make it difficult to prosper with your health and your fitness in the fire service, having a plan that's tailored to that, that thinks about it from every angle. That's what they all have in common. So I'll give you an opportunity to have access to the same kind of thing. If you want to book a call with one of our enrollment coaches, I'm going to leave the link down below. So check that out and make sure that you don't miss out on it, because this was everything and all the difference for them. It can also be all the difference for you. Outside of that, I just want to leave you with one thing. Thank you for listening to this episode. And just remember, being in shape is part of the uniform. And if we can agree on that, then the only other thing to ask is, what are you going to do about it? I'll see you guys next week in the next episode. Until then.